Hey, it actually segues nicely. My last question was going to be about your Impact departure. I thought it was really nice the way that they handled things. I know Scott announced it at the taping, and I was just going to ask if you maybe answered part of it already, but I was going to ask what contributed to the decision to leave. Was it what you have going on in Florida? If I don't know if you wanted to talk about any of it,
Yeah,
but
I'm an
I
open
just
book.
thought it was a nice, I thought it was a nice way to do things.
It wasn't my decision. About 6 months before, probably midsummer, Scott came to me and said, before we talk about it in the production meeting, well, first he called me over and he hardly, even though I've known him for 30 years and we're friends, he hardly ever waves his finger like, come over here. So I was like, here we go.
Hmm.
And he goes, no, nothing to worry about. He goes, but I do want to tell you um, before we talked about in the production meeting that Jen Alexander, Jade Chung, is going to do the before the Impact matches, the two kind of pre-show matches we do, so to speak,
Hmm.
and at every taping. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm like, hey, thought maybe that was it for me. He goes, well, we can't, you can't do this forever. Uh, and I said, well, I understand that. He said, well, there might be a time coming up here that it might come to an end for now. And I said, could you give me an estimation of because I don't want to have to worry about it. He goes,
Hmm.
you're good through at least the end of the year. What I didn't know that he knew and he couldn't tell me is he was bringing TNA back and he wanted a new look.
Yeah.
So, which made a lot of sense. But he made it clear that I was passing the mic to Jen, and so I took that as a great deal of a source of pride. Um, Gary Capetta passed the mic to me. I wanted to take it as help her out as much as I can. She's really a natural at doing it. So there wasn't all that much, but a lot of the, what they tell you from the truck and, stuff like that is what she was more concerned about. She already knew how to talk on a microphone.
Hmm.
So I knew that. Then they brought me up to Toronto for that Final Resolution show. And I'm thinking to myself, who does this? You know, my replacement is there.
Hmm.
I mean, who flies you up to a one-off show, a pay-per-view from Florida, pays you, puts you up in a hotel room. I just thought that was incredibly classy of
Hmm.
Scott to do. And then what was supposed to happen at the end of the show was, because this was the last Impact show, they were gonna continue at Hard to Kill in January with TNA.
Hmm.
And what was said on the format was the Impact talent comes out and says goodbye to Impact, sort of
Hmm.
ceremonial goodbye to Impact. What I had no freaking clue and was absolutely still blown away by is that Scott had arranged for all them to all come out and say goodbye to me. He gave
Hmm.
me a plaque. I put it up online just recently. I had a problem doing it, so I had a third party go ahead and do it, and I put it up online recently. You can find it on Twitter, but uh, especially if you follow my account at David Penzer. But yeah, gave me a beautiful plaque and really put me over, and the crowd and the talent was chanting, "Thank you, Penzer," and that means so much to me. It didn't have to be done.
Hmm.
They're a small company. They could have used that money somewhere else, but they did it for me, and that really means a lot. And that's the way that company is. It's a family. I mean, it's more of a family. Wrestling is a family, but that company is more of a family. It's not just the talent, it's management and it's production and it's the talent that all, root for each other and are excited for each other. I mean, when Lish just won her first title in Impact, in TNA Impact, I can't even imagine what the celebration was in the locker room backstage. People honestly were happy for her,
Yeah.
legitimately. It wasn't about, oh, I had to, they changed the belts, or Jody Threat and the other girl going, oh, this sucks. People were legitimately happy that she got her chance because she's been there forever. She's like the heart of the company almost.
Hmm.
She's like the mama bear of the company. Her and Gail Kim, and so I was happy for her. I said something, I sent an email to Eddie because I didn't have her number, and just told her how excited I was, and to say congratulations, and he wrote back, that means a lot coming from you. So that's the way it is there. And I can't speak to AEW or WWE or NWA, I could speak to what I witnessed in Impact, and that send off was special and always mean a lot to me.
Mhm.
And uh, unfortunately, Scott didn't last much longer. I don't have the details of what happened. Obviously, he butted heads with the guy who owns the company, which is never a good idea. Um, but that was really a shame because he ate and he slept and he hardly ever slept. You know, TNA Impact
Mhm.
Wrestling, and it meant a lot to him. And uh, so that was really unfortunate. But things happen. I guess I don't want to
Yeah.
trivialize it, but you have to move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
I'm sure he's moving. I'm sure he has plans to move on at some point too. So I mean, you kind of it's kind of like you mourn it for a little while, and then you got to kind of go move forward. So
yeah.
certainly I did, and then
Mhm.
I reached out to some of the guys a couple months later. How's it going without Scott? And they were like, you know what, it's different, but it's not as bad as we thought uh, because we really don't have a choice. We're under contract. So, and I was like, well, that's good. I'm glad. I'm not glad
Yeah.
for Scott, but I'm glad for the company that they're, uh that it's going okay. So
Yeah. And I
they'll
think
always have a special place in my heart.